Hello, guys. I just want to add something after talking about support and resistance. It's also important to talk about trend lines, especially in swing trading. So we use trend line to see the way, the direction that the stock is moving, and usually the trend line is acts as support or resistance for the stock price to bounce around. So same thing as the support and resistance, it has to be something obvious. So over here, as you can see, it's like a downward trend here, right? So it's just a directional, so it's either down or going up. So it's a going down trend, and it also acts as a we'll talk about that later. So over here, and also this is going up like this. So that's basically what the trend line is. It's basically a trend that's going up or it's going down. But also, what's interesting about it is it also acts as a channel. And as you can see over here, it's a channel that just bounce around. So this acts as a resistant up here, support, 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 resistant. So you can see that it'll like bounce around that level. I'm not sure what happened here. And then over here, when it changed going up, you can also draw another channel here, and you can pretty much kind of predict how far it's gonna go up, and then go up over here and almost broke up over here, creating a different trend. However, that failed really bad. It went down here and then over here. So for us, all we care about is going up because I'm very bullish of the market. Um, so we'll talk about the upward trend. So the way I would when I chart my stocks, I usually I would usually draw my support and resistance and kind of like have an idea on how the stock goes. So I will draw my support as a resistance there. This also acts as a resistance over here. All right. So if we didn't have this much information on this one, we can say like, okay, it's gonna bounce up here and at least target here. So this is how I put my target, guys. So I would say like, okay, you guys can sell around this level because at least like there's really no resistance up here besides from this maybe, but this looks like minor. So you could most likely gonna hit this level. So like that's guaranteed money right there. And then when you get more information, let's say you went like that. So either way from here, like you don't know if it is gonna pass through, right? But if it does pass through, you know that it's probably most likely gonna hit this level, or maybe they'll have another resistance here. But this looks like a minor resistance here, so most likely it's gonna go up there. So that's how I measure the targets that we have. So like if I only have this much information, um, I'm probably also thinking here, you know what, it might dip down to be safe. I want you guys to buy on these levels. And that's how would I put my levels here. So instead of going up there, instead of buying over here, and then you accidentally buy here, if it does go down, then you're basically losing money, and then it takes a while for it to go back up. And I don't want this. I don't want that. So if I set my buy zones, I would usually put it down here to be safe for us. And because this pushes through up here, now this becomes a support and resistance over here. And most likely this will be the area that's like a really good buy zone for the fact that there's a trend line going up and there's also the resistance over here. So basically you have two different supporting evidence basically that this most likely will push up if it does go down here. However, it did break through and it just stayed around that area, which is whatever. But remember, support and resistance is basically an interest of area. It doesn't have to be like strictly on the line. So this can be like a buy zone and sell zone for a lot of people. But with this kind of area like this acts like a really strong support. So if this does go down over here, if it does break, the trend breaks. What we usually do for trends, draws trend supports, right? So what do we do when the trend breaks? Okay. So, if we're like being optimistic, bounce up, bounce up. maybe it will bounce up again, right? That's what we're thinking. Over here's all-time high. So, we can measure how far did this go. So the price can go all the way up here, et cetera, et cetera. We can measure all we want there. But like, what if it does break over here? What do we do? So it's like this. What do we do? So basically, we look at the closest, strongest support that this stock has when it does break the trend line. So it's like this: when it breaks, where does it usually stop? So over here, there's no information back here. So you can see that there was no support and resistance over here. So when it goes up like this, all the way down, you kind of you kind of know that this is probably like the last uh, support here. So you know that it can drop all the way down here. So when this breaks, I would get the hell out of there because this is gonna drop all the way over here. And you can see it did get stuck there. So over here. So now we're all the way up here. What happens when it breaks down here? Now we have multiple supports, which is great. Now we can maybe it will just bounce up here and then stay here and then go up or down, whatever. Or if it still breaks down, you still have this support. Hit, 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 hit around this area. And worst case scenario, remember that this is like a really strong support down here too. So worst case scenario, if it does go down, bounce up here and then bounce up here. So that's how basically how you use a trend line support. And when the trend and when the trend breaks, you just find the most recent and more obvious support that can like help your stock stay up there. So when this breaks, don't panic. Most likely it's gonna get pushed up, but you'll have to determine that by price action. None of this support and resistance is a final call on how the stock works. There's more things that you need to look at, indicators and price action before you make that decision. But this is basically like a basic overview on how to use the trend line and supports.